Okay, so let's talk about the most significant part of the version 2.0 update of MIAP, which is the ability to author and edit maps natively inside of the Max object suite, specifically using the MIAP.map object. And this is a kind of a game changer for this group of externals because it makes it so much easier to modify maps and create new maps and experiment rather than having to go to third-party software and then import it using another MIAP.my or external and so on. So this has been a thing I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's the biggest part of this update. And let's walk through the functionality. So there's interaction modes. The only mode that existed before was the audition mode. I'm not even sure I had exposed it as a mode, but that's what was happening under the hood. And that is the mode where you can navigate maps and cause changes to happen within the panner objects, just like we've talked about and has been shown in other videos. Then there's other modes. There's creating nodes, creating trisets, creating links, editing nodes, and editing links. That's all the functionality that's needed to create maps and create and delete and edit everything in a map. And when we're doing these things, we've got some new attributes that we'll be dealing with. Node type, which will tell us what type of node that we're, for example, when we're creating a node, we specify the node type and it creates the node that we've specified. 0 can't be selected, it's here just for convenience. So we have node type 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just like I said in the video before, everything we're going to be doing is essentially just an intuitive implementation using a UI interaction of the scripting language that already existed. So I can print the messages and we'll see that the messages that it prints, that it's sending wirelessly to the panner objects are the same messages that you could send procedurally if you wanted to. So we've got node type, node channel. If it's a speaker node or a derived node, it's going to be outputting to a channel. Node trim. In this, I think in the messaging syntax before that was called attenuation, and I've kept that for backwards compatibility. You can still use it, but now it's called trim, which is a little bit more fitting because it can amplify or attenuate, and that's a global gain offset associated with a derived or speaker node that just does a gain, adds an extra gain stage to that in addition to the whatever the panning energy is for that node. And then link weight for when we're dealing with derived links or virtual links. I've also added, there's some visual updates and improvements. I've added arrows that kind of show you the nature of the link. If it's a virtual node, it's sending its energy to the nodes that are the target of that source node. And if it's a derived node, it's the linked nodes are deriving the signal from those target nodes. So it's kind of the reverse direction for these two different types. In any case, let me clear the maps and we'll start from scratch and build some stuff. So let's create some nodes. When you click in create node, nodes interaction mode, you can just click on the map. Depending on the node type that is currently selected, it's going to create that type. It's automatically, if it's a node type that deals with channels, it's automatically going to assign it a channel 1 because it doesn't know what else to do with it, and a trim of 1. We can change that later. So here's 4 speaker nodes. Let me make a virtual node in the center. And then, I don't know, we can make a few other, let's do some silent nodes. I'm not thinking this through super carefully. I'm not trying to make something really pretty, but just make something here. And then let's make a derived node. Put that over here. And again, the speaker nodes and derived nodes default to the output channel of 1. So we'll go back and change that. So made a bunch of nodes. We can always delete a node in this mode by shift clicking on something. And so that's kind of modeled on the function object. You can click on something to create it and shift click on it to delete it. Let me go back and re-add that in. So clicking on something will create it. Clicking on the object will create a node if you're in this interaction mode. Shift clicking will delete it. Go back and make that silent node as well. Okay, so before we do anything else, let me just, let's go to the next mode, creating trisets. This is very easy. It'll just triangulate. It's not going to ever triangulate a derived node because that doesn't exist within the map in the same way as the other nodes, but it'll let me create trisets based on all of the possible options that make sense. So let's do that. Let's create a center square of, oops. So clicking on a triangle will create the triset. Clicking again will delete it. So I made a little mistake that I didn't want to do. So there we go. So I've got a center here that's 4 speaker nodes and a virtual node in the center that's going to virtualize a point and send its energy to all 4 of them. We'll deal with that in a second once we have links set up. And then the rest, I will just do something quick and dirty here. There. So got a map. I can move stuff around if I want to. That's it for tri-set creation. Very easy. So now, why don't we, let me skip create links and let's go to the nodes for a second. So I can click on a node and move it around. I can shift and kind of drag and create a multi-selection, and I can move that stuff around. And once I've selected something, let's talk about that for a second. So when I select one node, we can see over here in the attributes that it tells me it's a speaker type, and it's node channel 1, trim 1. As soon as I selected a node that it'll show me the relative information. So a silent node has no channel, no trim, so it only says it's a silent node. Derived node has a channel and a trim, and it's derived, and so on. So if I click on one, it's going to give me that information, but what happens if I click on more than one object? Let's start by, I can either do that by clicking and dragging, or I can click and hold shift down like I'm selecting a bunch of objects in a patch. And the moment that I did that, information is here, but now I've got 2 nodes. It goes away because it can't represent, even though in this case they have the same information, they won't usually, or they may not, can't represent all that information in one attribute box. So we can edit these things and it'll do a group edit, but it doesn't show you all of the information you can already see in the map. So let's, just as an example, I'll do a group change. Let's change these to channel 3. Both of them change to channel 3, or I want to change the trim to 0.5. They both change to 0.5. So you can do group edits that way, but I don't want to. I want that to be channel 1. I'm going to change this to channel 2. I'm going to keep all the trims the same for this example. Change this to channel 3. Change this to channel 4. All right, so now I've got a 4-channel map, and we can see that updated here in the outputs. And actually, let me print the map gains so we can see that for a second. So we've got 4 gains now. Okay, so let's go back to, actually let's do a 5th, which is the derived node. That'll be going to some sub, for example. So we've got the map, we've created the triceps, we've updated the settings of the different nodes, and now let's link the virtual node and the derived node. So this is the most involved. Actually, let me go back for a second. I showed you, I forgot to show you one thing. You can shift click to delete a node when you're in the create nodes mode. You can also click on something. I'll do this here because it'll be easier. And you can click the delete button and that'll delete it. I can also do a multi-delete by selecting everything. So I can either select it and then hit the delete button or to delete something, or I can, in the create nodes mode, I can shift click on it. 2 different ways. So let me go back to create nodes, make another silent node, just recreate the map. Okay, so let's go to links. I'm going to create links. So to create a link, you click first on the node. It'll only let you click on a node that is considered a source for those links. So I'm clicking on these and it's not even letting me select them. But if I click on this one, it lets me select it because it's a virtual node, and it shows me a kind of a link cord that I can attach to valid target nodes. In this case, I can't attach it to this, so if I try to, oh, I'm wrong. I can't attach it. Excuse me. You can link a virtual node to a silent node. Let me click it again and shift click to delete it. That's the same. That gave me an opportunity to show you that. So I can shift click an existing link to delete it, or I can click on it to create it. Let me try to create a link to a derived node from virtual node. Won't let me. Okay, so I'm trying to do that now. And if I click in a place, in a non-node place, it's just going to delete the patch cord. All right, so I'm going to click and create a link, and it automatically creates a weight of 1. And if I want to keep creating the links, just like with patch cords, I can hold shift down while I create the link, and it will keep a link cord here for me, and then I can let go of it at the end. And now I've got 4 virtual links for this virtual node, and each of them has a weight of 1, so they're going to be 25% each in a power preserving mix, as virtual links does. So now when I'm at node 1, it's most of the gain is on 1, 2, 3, 4, but in the middle it's a power preserving mix of all 4, just like this is not new functionality, but it's just that we can mess with it now natively. Okay, so that's a virtual link. Let's do a derived. So let's create the links, and now I'm going to click on the derived node, and derived nodes, they can't connect to silent nodes, so it won't let me. Can't connect to nothing either. So I will derive signal from the speaker nodes, which are the only nodes that I can. So I'm gonna, if I don't click shift, it will get rid of the patch cord. It created a link. This is a weight of 1. The default functionality for derived links is not to do a power preserving mix, but to do a linear, basically just send the signal linearly, and this is essentially a trim. This weight is a trim, so I might want to change that. But let's make links to all 4. So I'm going to hold shift down until the last one, and now we've got these links. So this will give us a chance to edit the links. So we've created links, created nodes, created trisets, edited nodes. Now let's edit the links. We've got the links already. Just like before, we could have created them or deleted them using the create mode. We can do the same thing here. If I want to delete a link, click on the source node first. That's what you'll have to do. I can't click on the target nodes. That's just the way that this interaction works. Click on the source node, then click on the target node, and it highlights that link. And if I were to click the delete button, it would get rid of the link. So very similar to node creation. Let me create that link again. So source link, target link. We've got the link back. Now I'll go back and edit. So we can do that. I can shift click target links and select a bunch of links, and I'm going to do that for a group change of the weights. So let me change the weights to 0.2. So it changed all of the weights to 0.2, which is, when we go back to addition, we'll see that affects the gain here. And that's about it. I could also delete it by multi-selecting and then clicking the delete. But that's really all that you can do with links, is you link them and then you adjust the weights. Let's go back to audition. So we've got because it's 0.2, when I go to just one node, the derived node gain goes down, and when I go to the center, goes up just a little bit. So you can play around with derived nodes and all of this stuff. And let's see, is there anything else here? I think that's it. Yeah, if we want to move stuff around, go to edit nodes. If we want to clean it up, you can also display the grid. And that's it. So it's very easy. Something to be aware of is when you're doing a group select. Let me show you just an example of this. There is no back button. Eventually maybe I'll do that, but it'll just kind of squash everything as you're moving over, because it can't go outside the bounds of the map. So you could easily completely destroy a map. So save often, essentially. Now that we've got this map, I'm going to write it. Let me just write it here. And let me clear the map and read it back in. There it is. So map creation, map editing, map saving, just like before, and everything you need to for full manifold interface amplitude panning functionality inside of Max.